now let's take a moment and talk about trauma, because we can't talk about any sort of aspect of chronic healing, weight loss included, without a nod to trauma. Now, I like to talk about trauma in two different ways, and you often hear people say this of trauma with a big T, which is the things you read about on the nightly news, the things that we know are terribly and traumatic. Attack, war, rape, physical violence, things that are happening to you in a victim-perpetrator type of way. Those are traumas with a big T, even physical accidents and physical trauma that you need to go to the emergency room for. But most importantly, I find in learning and doing inner healing work is little t trauma. So little t trauma is what I would say, I define it as this little t trauma as any time that you were separated from a sense of safety. And this is quite a broad definition. This could be, especially as children, hearing someone make a comment in another room, hearing, a teacher interact with you in a certain way, feeling shame or embarrassment in a moment where it was overwhelming for your system. Especially if you are a sensitive, empathic person, those things happening in the outer world will have a bigger impact. This is part of what the researchers found in the 1990s, that two children in the same family can go through the kind of rough, challenging thing that the family went through, but the more sensitive individual with more sensory motor processing sensitivity will be more impacted by it. It will become more of a little t trauma, whereas a different nervous system child in the same family will not have as much of an impact. So a lot of what needs to be gently unearthed, not processed in a therapeutic way. That's what I want people to hear as a side note. You do not have to talk about and reprocess your trauma in order to get it out of the body. And in fact, usually talking about it and stirring it up over and over in therapy in a mental sort of way does not release it from the body, and it makes you feel worse. That's what I hear people say all the time, is like, I've talked about this forever in therapy, but I just end up feeling like shit afterwards. So that's not what we're talking about. Little t trauma is part of what has to be released in a very subtle body appropriate way in order to remove some of these subtle blocks in the system that can also be related to weight loss in our physical body. So here's your crash course in the layers of the human being, is that there are different layers of the energetic system of the body. Now, as an acupuncturist, we train and go to school for 3 and 4 years to really just understand one of these levels. So the body has multiple levels: the physical body level, the energy level, or the chi level. This is the layer that acupuncture and the fascia and the meridians are working on. There's the mental layer, which is sort of like the lower mind, the part of our mind that is reactive, a little bit more survival, biological, kind of keep us out of danger. Then we also have a higher mind aspect, and then this sort of spiritual body layer, which is really only touched on in deeper spiritual practices and meditation. And then this understanding, this is the ancient Eastern understanding of what a human body is, that at our center, the human is that divine spark, that mystery of however you name God in the universe, in a spark of nature in the heart and spark in the soul. So in these layers, these sort of combination, especially with the physical body, energy body, and the parts of the mind, this is what we're really talking about in subtle body work, and what we're learning to really hack and learn how to speak the language of this level of the body. Because when we're able to do this, what you notice is that you learn how to hack the blocks that have been in the system and actually release them. So what that means for you is you finally get out of this sort of like boom or bust. I'm either on a strict diet or I'm totally out of control. You start to actually develop subtle body tolerance, which means that we're really staying with ourselves more. We're having less anxiety. We're actually staying connected to ourselves. We're not leaving our body. We're not coping unconsciously by eating or doing any other methods. And you can actually start to get down to the real root of what the deeper issue actually is, to pull it out by the roots. This is what I was talking about with the client who noticed that, she was able to spend 3 days in a car with her ex-husband that normally just a phone call would have sent her over the edge. So let's talk about how it actually works in subtle body work. What we're essentially doing is, you saw those layers of the body and these different rings. Essentially, imagine that the different parts of your mind-body system are like these discs, each with like a special notch in them. I think I have another, there we are. Okay, so imagine that in your body, you've got some trapped trauma, you've got some trapped beliefs, you've got some crap stuck in your mind-body system from all of the stuff that you've been through in life in your mind-body experience. But it's really stuck underneath the sum total of all of these subtle body layers, which are like discs with these little notches in them. Now, what happens when you go to therapy is it really just spins this disc right here, the mind disc, and so it can't actually get this part out. Similar, when you go to acupuncture, it might release some of the stuff that's down at this level and let it out, but it's not going to line everything together. So what we do in subtle body work is we simultaneously use mind-body appropriate techniques, whether that's a combination of activating the mind layer, activating the physical layer, activating acupuncture points at the same time, and interpreting the sensations of the body so that all of these discs are actually lining up in the same way. What this will do is actually allow the body to eject the trapped trauma in a way that it does not come back. So this is the essence of the subtle body technique. There's some specifics around how to interpret different sensations and how to know what tools to apply when, but the essence of what is needed to really release things trapped in the body is to be able to do all of those things and align the discs together.